Welcome to our virtual developer roundtable. We have a amazing group with us today. We're going to hear so much about their history in Vero Beach. We're going to concentrate on talking about Vero Beach and all the amazing things that it has to offer. I know that I had been and have been going to Vero Beach since I was a little kid, and I always had a real passion for Vero Beach. And as I started to visit Vero Beach as a professional, that passion grew even more and more. And there's so many amazing things about this quaint town, but we call it a quaint town, but it's also not a quaint town in so many ways. There's so much that people just need to learn about Vero Beach. And me and our entire team at One Sotheby's International Realty, we wanted to really introduce Vero Beach to the world. And we really wanted to show everybody that we work with what it is that we're so passionate about in this market. And there's a tremendous amount of opportunity when it comes to real estate. There's an amazing lifestyle. There's remarkable people, some of the best people that I've seen, not only within this industry, but outside of this industry. And really, we're seeing now people. We've always seen people from the Northeast in Vero Beach, but now we're starting to see a lot of people from South Florida come to Vero Beach. So we as a company, we're very passionate about Vero Beach. We've made a significant investment in Vero Beach, and we're going to continue to invest in Vero Beach because we believe that Vero Beach, really, Indian River County, but Vero Beach today in specific is what we're talking about, has so much growth. It has so much potential, and in my opinion, is so undervalued. And really how we lift up Vero and everything that comes with it is really something that I've wanted to do for a very long time. And having Jan, Bobby, and Holly with us today, people that are important figures in Vero Beach and have so much to give back to Vero Beach in so many different ways, they're going to help us understand more about Vero Beach and just talk to us about some of their passions within living, in Vero, for living in Vero. So with that, I want to go ahead and first ask you guys, tell us a little bit about how you first got introduced to Vero Beach, and then, what kept you, in Vero Beach, right? So I'll start with Bobby.
Well, it was 17 years ago, and my son was dating a young lady that is now my daughter-in-law and mother of my two grandchildren, and her father lived in Vero Beach. So my husband and I just happened to be in Vero Beach to meet him and fell in love with it. We were living in New York City, and we were looking all over Florida, and Vero Beach, because of its building code, it's never crowded. The beaches aren't crowded, the roads aren't crowded. The building code is you can't build any higher than 3 or 4 stories, depending. There's a few high rises that are left, but Vero Beach basically does not have any high rises. It doesn't have any density. And we just love the quaintness of it, but yet everything was available. It has fantastic theater. The Riverside Theater is as good as when we were living in New York, going to theater all the time. It was as good as any Broadway production because they go to New York and bring the actors to their original productions. The museum is incredible. There's just so much you can say about it, but yet it's kind of quiet, which is why people enjoy coming to Vero Beach. So whatever you want it to be, it can be for you.
That's great. So One Sotheby's International Realty recently acquired Sea Turtle, which was Bobby's company. Bobby is now the managing broker for One Sotheby's offices in Vero Beach and in Melbourne. So Bobby, first of all, I want to thank you for believing in us. And we're so excited to have somebody like you really leading everybody at One Sotheby's in these two very important markets for us. It's been a great last couple of weeks, getting to know all of your agents, getting to know you really better, and you're a remarkable lady. So tell us a little bit about Sea Turtle, now One Sotheby's, and sort of your vision for the future.
Well, that's an interesting question because Sea Turtle was a boutique. I have a hard time saying was because it's very new that it was. It was a boutique agency. We had 27 agents and they were all handpicked. The agents I picked because of culture. I didn't want high producers. I wanted people that believed in the culture of service and the culture of taking care and following through with their clients. There were quite a few, Sea Turtle wasn't on the market, but there were quite a few different companies that came to me to talk to me about purchasing us. And the only one that I continued the conversation with, beyond thank you for coming in, was One Sotheby's. And the reason is because of how dynamic the company is, how forward thinking it is, but yet it acts like a boutique agency. So the culture was consistent, and the philosophy of taking care of the clients and taking care of the agents and caring about community was consistent with what the philosophy that Sea Turtle and all of its agents had. So it's been a great match. It's been easy for the agents. Some of them are having technology issues because as Sea Turtle being small, we didn't have the depth and breadth of technology that One Sotheby's offers, but we're all embracing it. And Daniel, I want to thank you for believing in us.
Thank you, Bobby. We're so excited. You know, it's so important to have somebody like you that really understands all the ins and outs of these two very important markets. So we're really, really excited, and I know the future is going to be very, very bright. So Holly, you were part of all this. You have lived in Vero for 30 plus years, right? You raised a family in Vero. Tell us what brought you to Vero. Tell us what kept you in Vero, and touch a little bit on raising a family in Vero, because I think sometimes there's this perception, right, that it's only retirees in Vero. It's not. I mean, I firsthand am seeing that. I mean, and we'll talk about Jan now, who really is building a product for everyone. So tell us a little bit about that, please, because I think that that's what a lot of people want to hear about.
Well, my coming to Vero, I call it dumb luck, because I actually came with a friend and I was going for 6 months. They were going to flight safety school. Well, I'm here 30 years later, met my husband here, raised a family. As far as raising a family in Vero Beach, there could not be a better place. You know, outdoor activities are obvious. You know, they spent their lives. My garage is still filled with boogie boards and surfboards and fishing rods and bicycles, and my kids spent their weekends at the beach, out on boats with friends. The area is very safe. You know, schools, you know, I think Vero also has a reputation, or Florida in general has a reputation of not having great education. Vero has public and private schools that have provided fabulous educations. These kids go on to the Harvard and the Yales and the Princetons and Notre Dames.
Yep.
And along with that is the sports environment. My kids were all involved in sports. The youth sports here are fabulous. You know, on a Friday night in the fall, if you go by the high school football field, it is full. There are 5,000 to 6,000 people that residents are there. They support it. So I can tell you, I think my kids, if you ask my kids, they would say that they loved growing up.
It's like Friday Night Lights. Remember that?
Yeah, it is.
What's that? Friday Night Lights. Yep.
Friday Night Lights.
You know, it's interesting. They now live in LA, Chicago, and New York. And I'll give you one guess where they spent the last 3 months. And I'm a pretty good cook, but it's not just because of my cooking. Vero's great.
Thank you, Holly. That was great. So Jan, Blue at 8050 Ocean, an amazing development. But first, tell us about you. You're French, you're a surfer, you're one of the coolest developers that we represent, that's for sure. Why Vero? What kept you there? And tell us about that first.
Sure. So, like Bobby, I've been living in Vero almost my whole life. Okay. I mean, I was born in France, in Nice. I moved here when I was 11 years old, so 37 plus years now. I went to St. Ed's. So, you know, Bobby spoke about the education and so forth. It was a great school to go to. I really enjoyed it. It set me up to go to Tufts University, which I thought was a good undergrad school. And then I went to law school after that in Florida. And then I moved back to Vero following law school for a gentleman that sponsored my education, basically. He had built 48 condominiums on the ocean in Satellite Beach. He was from Monaco. He didn't speak any English. And he says, hey, it's time to pay me back. You got to take over my project. So that's how I got into real estate development. And I got a lot of experience running that project. It was quite big. I was pretty young at the time. And then I just went right into development from there. So being in Vero, I mean, I love a lot of different places in Florida. I like to visit Boca. I like to see Miami. I like Palm Beach. But truthfully, there's nowhere else I'd rather live in Florida than Vero. All the same dynamics that Bobby and Holly mentioned. Vero, I don't need to repeat on, the beautiful beaches and the natural environment, whether you like to golf, boat, surf, run on the beach, walk on the beach, whatever it is, you really have all that outdoor stuff. But I think one thing we should touch on Vero is that it still really has that intimate feel. I love going down to Miami and Boca and those areas. It's got action, it's got movement. You feel a little bit anonymous, whereas in Vero, I think, we have a lot of nice restaurants, we have a nice delicatessens, but it seems like we are small enough that you get to know the people really well, and I think that's kind of a nice thing to have. And it's kept me in Vero. I mean, my business is here and in Brevard. I developed quite a bit in Brevard as well. And I do believe the point you touched that we're extremely undervalued in relation to similar type locales and products, particularly Vero from a high-end standpoint. I know this is an introduction of one Sotheby's to both Vero and Brevard, and I don't want to touch on Brevard too much. It's got definitely some attributes that I can talk to you about if you want me to. But Vero has a very elegant, classy feel to it. It does have, you talked about the quality of people, and quality isn't all about finances by any means, but Vero Beach is one of the highest concentrations of retired CEOs of 500 Fortune companies. Those individuals could really retire anywhere. And when they do, they look at places like Naples and Palm Beach and those other locales. And a lot of them seem to choose Vero, and it's because it's safe, it's quiet, and it has a lot of wonderful amenities. And I think that's what we all need to demonstrate and explain to the rest of the world that might not know of Vero as much. A lot of people have discovered Vero, so it's not like it's a secret anymore. But it's still really undervalued, you know?
Yeah. So
let's
let's
only
talk
tell
a
half
little.
the world about it.
Yeah. One city at a time. So tell us a little bit about, we talked about, the value proposition in Vero. Tell us a little bit about the square footages and the price points at 8050 Ocean, because when I see this, right, living in Miami but working the 7 counties my whole life, I mean, I see this and I see tremendous value, and that's been something that's been very consistent in my pitch when it comes to Vero. I remember when I came for the first time in my professional career and said, wow, you can buy how much on the ocean? You can buy, on the ocean for how much? For me, I was amazed. So tell us a little bit about 8050 Ocean now, the amenities, the price points, the sizes, etc.
So blue represents 21 condominium residences. Technically, it's really like 24 because 3 of them are going to be double residences. So double residences are 5,000 square feet under air, 6,600 square feet with the balconies. They come with 4 car garages, 2 double private garages. So it's really the equivalent of a 7,500 square foot home. And the price point of those is anywhere from 3.5 to 4 million, depending on which floor you go for. The standard corner residences, there's only 2 residences per floor in each building, so it's very private. They all have that private elevator entry where the elevator either opens up to the north or south side, so only 2 units per floor. Those are 2,500 under air, 3 bedroom, 3.5 bath, 3,300 square feet, a lot of living space there. Beautiful deep balconies, 15 feet deep, 32 feet across. And those are priced under two. Penthouses, I think I have one remaining single unit. I haven't opened up Tower 3, so I'm only referring to the Tower 1 and 2, and that's, I believe, $2,045,000. Otherwise, you can get in there as low as $1,645,000 on the second floor. So those price per square foot range anywhere from $650 to $800 a square foot. For new construction, really nice luxury finishes. You can customize them. I work closely with you, or at least my project managers will work closely with the clients. And then you've got all those amenities. So the site is 5 acres, 300 feet wide of oceanfront, 315 wide of oceanfront, and almost 800 feet of depth. Tons of awesome amenities, 75-foot pool, cabanas, sun deck, awesome gym upstairs that opens up onto the sun deck, which is a really fun feature. You also have a gathering room, clubhouse, putting green, fitness trails. I mean, I've never had the opportunity to have a site that big on the ocean that allowed me to have that many amenities. So, and for the price point, comparing it to, let's go to Palm Beach, Boca, and Miami. I would say Palm Beach is probably in the $1,200 a square foot range. Boca might be hitting 15, and Miami is 15 plus. I mean, I think Miami's, it depends on where you are in Miami. Obviously, you know, if you're talking about a Satai or, you know, there's a lot of different product, but I would say we're 60, 70% undervalued in relation to similar type products in South Florida locales, not counting the advantages that Vero offers as far as, again, the quiet, the safety, the quaintness, and so forth. It's just tremendous value. I mean, would I love to sell it for $1,000 to $1,200 a foot? Sure, but the prices that we've set are what they are. I mean, typically we'll have a couple price increases through the life of a project, but it's just really good value. And that also applies to oceanfront single-family homes. It applies to really across the board. I mean, even a home off the ocean, one block off the ocean in Vero might be $1 million to $1.5 million. That same home in Coral Gable Estates could be 2.5.
Exactly.
That's
You know,
what I mean by that.
So blue is blue at 8050 Ocean because it's literally on the ocean, right? I mean, I think sometimes even like in Boca Raton, right, you hear ocean. So for those of you that don't know Vero Beach that well, this is literally on the ocean. I mean, right on the ocean. You can walk, 50 steps and you're right on the sand. So that kind of price point, literally right on the sand, is really unattainable in my view anywhere else along Florida's East Coast. So a very important point. Of course, when you come up, whether you're coming from the Northeast or you're coming from South Florida or wherever you're really coming from, having those amenities, which Blue is really a highly amenitized building, which I think personally, knowing some of the competitors, is what sets it apart, right? Amongst many other things like Jan's customization, and we'll touch on that now, Jan, a little bit later, but spectacular development. Holly, golf is also a really big part of living on Vero Beach, right? So what's great is you've got the ocean, but you've also got the golf. I know that your husband is and has been a golf pro in the community for many years. I'm a big golfer, big golfer. So tell us a little bit about some of the different communities that are maybe not on the ocean, but are more golf oriented, or the lifestyle associated to some other type of living in Vero Beach.
Because we do have a wide variety of golf. And in Little Vero Beach, well, I shouldn't say little maybe, but in Vero Beach, I think we have about 17 courses. And I think what makes them really special is they're not only just really good, but they're really good value. And then there's a wide variety, from the very exclusive, like a red stick, to our public course, which is fabulous. There are courses on the ocean, on the river. There's lifestyle courses like Grand Harbor, where it's all inclusive. Bent Pine, where my husband is the pro, is a no tea time club started by John's Island members that didn't want to wait in line for tea times. It's still a no tea time club. Great value. I mean, that one, I can tell you the initiation is currently $25,000, which I would think that in those Southern Florida areas, that would probably be unheard of.
Yep.
Now, and then we have even, well, amid all of the choices, that Quail Valley is one worth mentioning. It's very vibrant, youthful. There's an executive
Beautiful.
west of town. And then right in the heart of town is a facility with tennis, marina, pool, tiki bar. They have short stay properties that are excellent. And their restaurants are indoor, outdoor seating, and they're across the river from each other, and they send a boat taxi back and forth. So there's a lot to offer in the golf community here. And when it comes to golf, I feel like Vero is kind of one-stop shopping. I mean, you can find what you want. It's all here.
Yeah, that's great. So we see the lifestyle picture here. I want to ask you, Bobby, tell us a little bit about some of the industries. Tell us a little bit about, the airport, how it functions. I know that Piper has their headquarters based out of there. Dodgertown used to be there. It was, an old, you had the old Navy base there. So there's actually a lot of history in Vero. I mean, Vero Beach was incorporated in 1925, and all this kind of has taken place. Tell us a little bit about that lifestyle and some of the industries and some of the things like that.
Well, the industries, you mentioned Piper, that is our biggest employer and our biggest industry. Vero Beach has been very careful to bring in an only clean industry. And they're really not seeking, they don't seek out industry per se. So the tax base is really based on the arts, based on the home ownership. And so schools are always the biggest employer. And we have then Piper, we have the hospitals. Cleveland Clinic just bought Indian River Memorial Hospital. So Cleveland Clinic is a big part of our community. They're bringing a lot of doctors in. And the doctors are amazed at what value we have. Because, Jan, you said about 50%, 70%, and I actually did statistics this morning for this presentation, and I came up with 69.7%. So you're right on the value in Vero Beach compared to Miami and Miami Beach. So you really, wow. Yeah. I mean, it's just incredible. So when people come to Vero Beach, they're just amazed. We have all kinds of lifestyle communities. We have, of course, oceanfront and riverfront communities. We have communities that have marinas. Holly mentioned Grand Harbor. Grand Harbor has 2 golf courses, a marina, they're a tennis community, and they have an oceanfront beach club. Not bad. Then you have some others that are on the ocean, on the river. You have an aerospace community. You have polo. We have an equestrian community. So I look at Vero Beach as you can have whatever you want. You can decide. You can buy land and have a house that's 20 minutes from the ocean on 5 acres, and you can have some horses and not be bothered with people until you want to go either to the beach or to the store. What amazed me, because I moved from New York City, what amazed me about Vero Beach is how everything was so accessible. That is the word I use all the time. Whatever I want is there. And when I lived in New York City, and I lived in Pittsburgh, I lived in Las Vegas, I've lived in a lot of places around the country. It's easy living. And you really create your own lifestyle. And it's all here. And it's great to raise children in.
That's great. I can use some easy living in my life right now. I think we all could, right?
Oh.
I know.
So
I know the team's up there today. I'm going to be up there shortly. Bobby, are you seeing, the Northeast has always been a big feeder market. Jan, you spoke a little bit about the Fortune 500 CEOs residing there. Are you seeing South Floridians moving north more than ever?
Yes.
Yeah,
we are. And it has to do with the lifestyle. So we don't have crowded beaches. What are people's complaints? First of all, we're the northernmost county of South Florida. So we have great weather, but we're about 10 to 15 degrees cooler in the summer than Miami. So when you go south, I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. Our beaches are not crowded. Our roads are not crowded. And so we're seeing a lot, you know, a couple years ago, I was seeing that a lot of people were buying from Miami, were buying second homes. So they would buy a little condo. They would want to spend a couple $100,000, you know, $300,000-$400,000, and they had it as a getaway. Now I'm seeing those people that they brought their friends, and now their friends are buying houses and they're making it home. And if they have to go back to Miami or to New York or wherever, they can. So work at home, you know, the telecommuting that started, what, about 5 years ago, that people could live anywhere and maybe get on a plane once a month or to go back to their office for a meeting, but they could work at home, really helped the Vero Beach market. Because I found that when I first moved here 17 years ago, it was an older market. You had pre-retirees and retirees mostly. So you had the Gorman family, Holly's family, but you had so many of the buyers were older. Now we're finding that they're a lot younger, and we're building schools. I mean, we're having a problem building schools fast enough in Vero Beach for that reason, because the quality of life is here. And that's what people want nowadays. They want quality of life.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you, Bobby. That was great. So, Jan, I remember when we first met, you spoke to me a little bit about your mindset when it comes to how you work with your buyers, and that has always stuck in my mind. And you talked a little bit now about working closely with buyers. And I just want to touch on that a little bit because that is also very rare, right? Blue's got a lot of things, but I think having that ability to customize something for, you know, the client is very special. So can you tell us a little bit about that customization and how far does that customization go? Because it, you know, we don't normally see that south, like in Miami. It's kind of like a take it or you leave it, or and that kills a lot of deals, to be quite honest with you. So what is it that you're doing differently than most developers?
Well, you know, so before we got back into the condominium development end of things, if you remember back in 2009, 10, 11, there wasn't a lot of development going on.
Oh
So
no.
at that time, I started building some large oceanfront estate homes. And those are obviously very custom minded. I got a chance to work with really, really neat clients, a lot of really fun interior designers, very talented people. And so when I started getting back into the condominium development mode, which has been more recently in the last 2 years, even the last 4 years, starting in Brevard, when we started seeing condominiums coming back up in this area, which one point I should make, there still isn't a lot of new construction development going on in Vero Beach. If you want new construction on the ocean, there's really two projects, Blue and another one. So the way I really view it is, I like being able to work with clients and allowing them to really pick their finishes. I saw and visited a couple model and sales trailers in Singer Island and down south, and the way they had it had very nice finishes, but they really had 3 lines of tile, 3 lines of cabinets. This is what you pick, and kind of go from there. We really allow them to customize all of their finishes. We obviously have a base allowance because certain finishes are more than certain marbles from Italy are going to be more than our standard limestone. So our allowances and standard finishes are very elegant. But if people want to customize it and truly make it their own, they have that ability to do that. And that actually goes even further once you get into the double residences, primarily because the square footage is so large and you're dealing with a 64-foot wide residence. You're really working almost with a single family type plan. You have some more customization availability as far as floor planning. Whereas on the standard residences, you're really just focusing on finishes. But no matter what, at the end of each project, there's not going to be one residence that's going to look the same from another. They're all going to be very individualized, and
That's
that really
incredible.
stems from that really stems from the client having their input.
That's incredible. That's really incredible. So I'm going to throw you a little bit of a curveball question here, Jan. The French are known for their cuisine. What are your
Okay.
2 or 3 favorite restaurants that are must tries when you come to Vero Beach?
Okay. Well, I moved here a long time ago, so I can't say cuisine is my forte personally as far as cooking it. But Vero's got, excellent restaurant. Um, I would say one of the ones I like the most is the one at Costa di Este, just because I like Cuban cuisine. So I like to go to Costa and eat there. The Tides has been um, an all-time favorite on the beach side in Vero. It's been,
Nice.
pretty well acclaimed. Um, Hey, I really like Ocean Grill. I think Ocean Grill's a
Ocean Grill's
classic. I've
great.
been going to Ocean Grill
Ocean Grill's
I've been
great.
going to Ocean Grill forever, and I like to get stone crab claws there. And but there's so many restaurants, and that's part of what some of the clients that I work with really enjoy. They love to go out and dine in Vero. It's a fun experience.
Thank you, Jan. I appreciate that. I wrote them down, but I knew all 3 of those. So
I imagine.
we actually, I want to just, I forgot to say this at the beginning. If anybody has any questions, which we already have a few, please just type them in and we'll make sure to get to as many as we can. So Holly, as we see South Floridians migrate north to Vero, once they get there, like me, and they get a taste of it, they genuinely fall in love with it because they get out of the craziness, right? Like for me, going to Vero and just being on the ocean, and I remember one morning I woke up and I did yoga on the ocean, and I was staying at the Kimpton, and the Kimpton had it all set up. There was nobody on the ocean. It was incredible. So when people get to have these experiences and they do look to see, oh, maybe this is a place where I want to live, right? Can you tell us about raising a family there in a little bit more detail? What's like so great about it? Tell us like a day in the life of, because sports is huge everywhere. I mean, and having that, right, is great. And I'm a sports guy all around. So tell us about that a little bit.
Well, first of all, my 3 favorite restaurants. Yeah, Tides, Amalfi Grill, and can't forget Bobby's. But
Yeah.
anyway, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind when you think about Vero Beach is those miles of public beaches. I mean, it's so unique to be able to be on a beach and walk for miles. Dogs are welcome on beaches on leashes here. It's a unique thing about Vero. Bobby mentioned about traffic, and I think that the city planners here they just had great vision. The ease of living is incredible. And I think families come here and stay here because of it. It's very interesting because I recently had a client say to me, God made South Florida, but he lives in Vero.
That's great. That's great. That's great. So we have actually a few questions that I'd like to make sure to get to. One of them is from Al Aristagi. Al is an agent with One Sotheby's. By the way, if you guys didn't see Al was on NBC for a new show that they're doing with Ancestry. And Al has a remarkable ancestry dated back to Cuba, where his family built 40 blocks in Cuba in the 1800s. And it was an incredible show. Al is a top agent in the Coral Gables office. He also has a home in the Keys. And the questions that he's asking make me seem that he may be selling his house in the Keys and buying at Blue at 8050 Ocean. So Al wants to know, how far is the international airport? Well, there's no international, but how far is the airport? And what about the seaport and the HOA fees? So those are the 3 questions. I'll start with Jan. What are the HOA fees, Jan, at Blue at 8050 Ocean?
The HOA fees are basically $1,000 for a standard unit, $2,000 for a penthouse. HOA fees cover all of the property maintenance, pool, landscaping, preventative maintenance, but also the insurances. That's a big deal. Property insurance, flood insurance. Blue is in an X zone, so there's really no high flood premium. That's a big plus. It basically covers everything but your own power, your, let's say, specialized cable, and the homeowner's insurance, that you would get for your content. So it covers quite a bit. Obviously, property taxes are not included in the HOA, but I would imagine property taxes will range in the, well, let's call it even $15,000 a year, is what I'm guessing. So that's that answer. I'll let the ladies talk about the airports and the seaports and all the good stuff.
Yeah, Bobby, why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, the airport, Vero Beach actually has a municipal airport that has direct flights to New York, Portland, Maine, and Asheville, North Carolina. So you can make you can fly out of, I mean, from my house to the Vero Beach airport, and getting on the plane is about 10 minutes. And it's free parking, which is incredible.
That's incredible.
If you want to leave your car there. Then if you go a little farther north, you go to the Melbourne airport, which from my house is about 45 minutes. And it's also a smaller airport. Delta Airlines pretty much dominates that airport. So they do some direct flights, but most of them connect in Atlanta. So that's where you would go international. Or you go up the road an hour and a half from my house, and you would be in Orlando, the Orlando airport. So you have a lot of options. You can go south to West Palm or Fort Lauderdale. So when I'm looking for a trip, I look at all the airports, see what the best connections are and the least expensive flights. So, which is really nice. It's nice to have that variety.
That's great. I'll pass this one on to Holly. Have you seen an increase in traffic from out-of-state buyers as of recent, or?
Well, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. It brings to mind an example because I recently did an open house and a couple stopped in that was very content with renting. And the next thing you know, the winter got bad up north, and I get a call. And when I called him to tell him that their offer was accepted, he laughed because he knew he was buying a home in Vero. But they love it here. We are seeing a big influx of people from the East Coast. As well as, if I can add to Bobby's, you asked about like people from South Florida. I recently met a couple where he's a lawyer in Fort Lauderdale. They had their weekend home here. He golfed here. And recently we bought a new home here in Vero Beach because now they reside in Vero Beach and he commutes to Fort Lauderdale. So definitely an influx.
That's great. That's great. So Jan, tell us a little bit about some of the other projects. I know you touched a little bit on the single family homes. Tell us a little bit about some of the other projects that you've done, because developers' reputation, of course, is always the most important. And we know some of the amazing developments that you've done, and we know your vision for everything, but some of the people on the call don't. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So as far as Vero Beach is concerned, we've built, I'm going to say, probably 7 or 8 oceanfront estate homes. They've ranged anywhere from 200 square feet under air to over 10,000 square feet. Typically on a 1 acre lot. We've built 4 along Reef Road, which is in the Moorings. Right around 2012, we purchased 10 acres on the ocean just south of the Disney Resort. So that would be probably about 6-7 miles north of the downtown Little Vero area, which is only probably about an 8 to 10 minute drive to get into the core Vero, Beachland, Ocean Grill, all those areas. And there we developed 4 homes. 2 of them were spec homes. Most recent one we sold in the $6.7 million range for a 7,000 square foot home. So on that point, again, going back to the value, I found that just in the last month, I'm currently building a home for a client, and she may end up reselling it. It's a large home in the Moorings, and 8,000 square feet, probably valued at 7.9 million, right in that range. You know the market in South Florida better than anyone. a 100 feet of oceanfront, 1 acre lot right on the water in Golden Beach. That's probably the cost of the entire home or more here. So I have a couple more homes remaining at North Shore. One seems like it might go as a home lot package in the next 30 days. And then I'll have one remaining home that I've talked to you about actually. And that's probably going to be in the 9,000 square foot under air, 13,000 under roof. It's on a double lot. It's 175 feet on the ocean, 3 acres, and I'll still be under 10 million. So, it's not just condominiums on the ocean that have values, single families, we shared about all that, but oceanfront estate homes, I can see people from South Florida buying their primary home here, commuting, the point that Bobby was mentioning, because that same type home in South Florida could be every bit of 15 to 20 million.
Yeah, yeah. No, and I mean, in that Golden Beach market that you're talking about, land value for an acre on the ocean is $15 million plus.
Here you're talking about 8 million to 9 million for the lot and the new 9,000 square foot home. I mean, that's just, it's an enormous difference.
Yeah. No, and what I noticed about you, Jan, since day one is that you've always been involved in luxury and you really pay attention to the details. And I think that sometimes that gets away from people. And I view you as the kind of guy that, would rather make less money and deliver a superior product. And I think that says a lot about you. And I think it's going to reflect at Blue at 8050 Ocean for sure. So I think we're going to have something.
We have another project. I'm going to discuss it just briefly with you, but we did just purchase another 550 feet of oceanfront in Vero. You kind of know about it because it's been radar, but we closed on it 2 months ago. I haven't really unveiled much about it just yet, but a few people know about it. And, if you do a nice project and you do well with it, you can keep doing the same thing over and over. So you just can't look at one sale being your home run.
Exactly.
Eventually we're going to have another whole line of oceanfront product. Some of it will be condominium, some of it will be villa style. And, we're committed to this market. Just like you made a huge investment coming into Vero, we've made a significant investment, and now we have 900 feet of oceanfront that we're developing here.
That's incredible. I congratulate you because it's spectacular. And as I look at the rendering, the pool and the gym and the 15-foot balconies, how high are the ceilings? Do you want to?
So ceilings are 10 feet high on the second and third floors, which is a really generous ceiling height. And then once you get into the penthouses, they go 11 plus. I think it hits 11 too. We do wood ceilings on all the lanais. That's another thing you don't see in a lot of condominiums. I mean, if you look at even newer condominiums, beautiful condos, by the way, Orchid Island and Carlton and all those condominiums, they still don't do tongue and groove. That I really kind of tried to take a lot of the nice finishes that I put in some of these oceanfront single family estate homes and bring it to the condominium. So, we're excited. As the buildings go up, and they'll be going up very soon, I'm very close to being done with all the site work. They'll sell. Condominiums like these, there's only going to be 18 of them right on the ocean, and that's not a lot of density, like Bobby says. There's very little density in Vero. So.
Well, yeah, and I think that's a testament to what's happening now with COVID and all that. I mean, there was 4 cases in all of Indian River County. It was really great. I mean,
we might have had a few more than that, but it's
yeah.
I don't think it's affected us as much as it has you guys.
No, it may be not Indian River, but in Vero. I mean, not in Indian River. That was not correct. But in Vero, there was very few cases. I feel like everything.
We had 10 deaths. I mean, 10 is too many, but we only had 10 deaths.
There you go. And several of those were in an ALF. So
most of them were from nursing homes.
Exactly. So that's, great. And when you look at living in a beautiful development like this, and you have the space to be able to sort of, I guess social distance is the right term nowadays, social distance, it's incredible. I mean, it's really
Well,
great for the
Daniel, I just want to share something on the COVID thing, and I think Bobby and Holly can really attest to it too. Um, it's been a very hard time for many, many, many people living all across the country, right? I mean, it's changed everyone's way of life. Um, in Vero, it just feels like it's changed it less. Okay, I mean, yeah,
yeah
we can't go to restaurants, and you're not, country clubs are closed, but we've been able to at least we've been able to keep working. A lot of us. I feel really unfortunate for the people that haven't. Um, but our lifestyles hasn't changed that much. We haven't been on a full lockdown to where all the beaches were closed. Like people were still able to. I don't think I've ever seen so many people exercise in Vero in my entire life. I mean, there's like bikers and runners, new bikers and runners every day. I think that's a big plus for this community. Again, it has, and I think that's been a draw. I mean, there's been an increase in leads. I think because of that. Less impact on the quality of our lives.
yeah no, definitely.
Good.
So we're kind of coming up on the end of the of the roundtable here. If there's any additional questions, I'd love to answer them. Somebody made a comment here. Even Gloria Stefan has discovered Vero Beach. She owns the Wave Kitchen and the bar at the Costa del Este, so that is true. She does own it, and she's been invested there for quite some time. Holly, so for people that are not familiar with Vero, what would you say is the the biggest game changer? Like, what would you say is the reason that they should move to Vero? What is different about Vero? We've talked about a lot of different great qualities that Vero has, but like for you, right? Like for you, for your family, for your husband as the golf pro, what would you say? Like, why come to Vero?
It's interesting your last, my daughter says we live in a bubble because, they come back here and we're not affected as gravely as other parts of the world. And, it's been interesting to see that with my adult children, now that they've grown, we're a little bit of an island, a safe haven. Like they come home and they want to be here. I think Vero Beach also, like something that I think is unique that it's hard to, we kind of have touched on it, but Vero Beach is like a very welcoming community. Vero Beach just has its arms wide open and you can feel it. It's got a heart. And families grow up with families. I think that I may have raised half of Vero Beach when my kids were young, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, comes back around, keeps coming back around.
Yeah, definitely. Bobby, what would you say?
I would say it's a community. I mean, I think what Jan said and what Holly said, I just totally agree. The reason we weren't hit so badly with the pandemic is because we're a community. We all worked together to try to help the restaurants. We were doing outdoor seating. We were trying to keep the social distance. We weren't reckless, but we cared about each other and we care about what's happening to the community. We were invested. I've lived in a lot of different places, and this is home. When I moved to Vero Beach, it became home. I started off buying a property in Vero Beach, living in New York City, and it took me about 3 months to decide to flip that and to live in Vero Beach and just go to New York for business. It's just a welcoming, wonderful place that's manageable. I know I used that term before, but it is manageable. Whatever the lifestyle, if you have young children, it's manageable. If you're older and you're retired on the other end of the spectrum, it's manageable. If you want to be outside and you want to do a lot of sports, it's manageable. So that's what I would say about it. And it's never crowded.
That's great. It's never crowded for you either on the water, Jan. You're a great surfer. I'm sure that's partially why you're still there, right? So tell us a little bit about what's different for you about Vero and why Vero.
Well, I mean, a big draw for me has been surfing. It's a passion of mine, and other than living in my business is here. So I'm staying in Florida. And the waves are a lot of fun and, all of that ocean living. But I think to me, Vero, and we kind of all hit on it, Vero is intimate. You still have that feeling of knowing people, whether it's like you're going to a restaurant, you know all of them, or you're going to Village Beach Market. I mean, the girls that work there, the guys behind the deli, they know my mom. They're like, oh, Nicole was here. It's hard to find a place like that. When I go and travel to California because I want to go relax and I want to go surf, and I like the action, and I might be in LA or Orange County, and it's fun and it's moving. But after 4 or 5 days of that, I really enjoy just coming back to Vero because Vero, like you said, it's not congested. It doesn't take you 30 minutes to get 5 miles down the beach so I can go surf trestles. If I want to go to Sebastian Inlet, it takes me 12 minutes, 15 minutes. It's a leisurely ride. It's beautiful. And we actually all get to know each other. I mean, do we know everyone in town? No, I don't know everyone in town. I'm keep to myself quite a bit. But do I get to recognize the same people that I see? We it just feels very much like a community-minded place, like Bobby said. And I think that's not so easy to find everywhere. And we have that. And I truthfully don't know that you have that. I'm not taking away from South Florida, but it's just there's so many people. It's so much busier, and I'm not surprised why people choose to even make Vero a second home from South Florida, and then ultimately decide to make this decision to make it their permanent home.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how fast you drive, it's a 2 to 3 hour drive. It's really not that far away. Holly's laughing at me. She's like, "Wow, you drive pretty
It's 2
fast."
hours
But
for
it
you.
really,
It's 2 hours for you, Daniel. It's 3 hours for Holly.
I have a heavy foot. No, I'm laughing because I have a heavy foot too.
She doesn't
that's why I
see
said
it.
2 to 3 hour drive.
Daniel, I
But
just want to say one other thing, if I
of
could.
course,
Everything we're talking about with Vero Beach, we're making it sound like it's down home, and it is, but it's a sophisticated city at the same time. And that's something I don't want to get lost. We have really wonderful, we talked about the restaurants, we talked about the theater, but there is a sophistication to the city. And we have a very highly educated population. So it's down home, it's community, it's everything, and it's, they have a wonderful book series and speaker series. So it's just everything and anything you could want.
And there's
yeah, no,
also
it's
tremendous professionals here. That's another thing we
yeah.
didn't. I mean, whether it's banking, attorneys, estate planning, we've got just really amazing, educated, top-notch professionals.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, I mean, when you're driving in downtown Vero, I mean, there's a UBS, there's a Rolex, there's now one Sotheby's, really, really great big companies to service the amazing clientele that's there. And then you've also got the little quaint coffee shops or the little quaint ice cream shops. What's the little ice cream shop that sells the muffins and everything right by the office, Bobby? It's right on
Cravings. Yeah.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. I've been there 3 times. They know me already. I mean,
Yeah.
it's that to Jan, your point. That's kind of like, and really, we talked about the beach, right? The beach is remarkable. We talked about the golf. We talked about the boating. We talked about all these great things that are happening. But really, to me, Vero is about the people.
Yeah.
It's very inclusive. It feels very good to be there. And dealing with the realtors in Vero is honestly a pleasure. You know why? Not only the way they deal with me, the way they deal with you, Bobby, the way they deal with the company, but the way they deal with each other. It's very refreshing. It's very refreshing. And I think that all of those things are what make Vero Beach very refreshing to people from the Northeast, to people from South Florida, to people from anywhere that are relocating to Vero Beach. It's very refreshing in every sense of the word. So all these things kind of bring you, but then beautiful developments, like Blue at 8050 keep you, and then the people keep you, and the lifestyle keeps you. So I can't thank you guys enough for your time today. You guys are veterans of the industry. You guys are veterans in Vero Beach. You guys are remarkable at what you do. You've been doing it for a very, very long time. I was thinking, Bobby, 17 years ago, that was when I started in this business. That was when you were moving to Vero Beach. Who would have known that we would have been doing this together? But it's remarkable. You know, the world works in funny ways, and everything happens for a reason, guys. So, you know, the reason right now is to get as many people as we can to Vero Beach to see these beautiful developments like Blue at 8050, to meet amazing people like Bobby, like Holly, and everybody else that's in Vero Beach. Try some of the great restaurants, really just walk and get to understand the intimacy that Jan so well put. I mean, the intimacy within these communities. I mean, it's remarkable. You walk down the beach, and I have like this vision in my mind of the fishermen that are just literally fishing on the beach with those big fishing rods, and they have them dug into the ground, and you just kind of see them lined up, and everybody's hanging out. And then, you know, you walk across the street and you can go speak to your financial advisor at UBS or your realtor at One Sotheby's, or it's like the best of both worlds. You can hang out at the Kimpton and you know, have a bonfire outside and have a cocktail. I mean, it's great. It's really, really great. And for those of you that are on the call that have not been to Vero, I highly, highly, highly recommend you to go. And whatever you guys need, Bobby's got a wonderful rental division within her organization as well. We don't have enough time to talk about it now, but our company has a great rental division. And I like to say, you know, rent first, try it out, see if you like it, and then, you know, you can go ahead and buy. But whatever it is you choose to do, just make the smart choice to go up and check it out, because it's a great place with great people and a great lifestyle. So thank you, Holly. Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Jan. Appreciate your guys' time. I know you guys have been working tirelessly throughout this whole COVID craziness. And it's, you know, what a better time to kind of get out and just explore. And I was telling everybody on this call, I was telling them earlier about some really, really, really remarkable people that are friends of mine, and they're choosing Vero Beach this summer as their summer vacation for their family, some as long as 2 months. So we're excited about that. We're excited about the future in Vero Beach. We're excited about One Sotheby's International Realty in Vero Beach. We're excited to represent remarkable projects that are going to be delivered just like the renderings look, like Blue at 8050 Ocean. So thank you all for being on this call. At one point, we got up to over 60 people. So really, really a great group of people and a great panel. So thank you guys. Appreciate your time very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.